The quantum drive's warning klaxon pierced through Dr. Sarah Chen's concentration as she frantically worked to stabilize her research vessel's failing systems. The unknown contact that had appeared on her sensors just minutes ago had fired some sort of energy weapon, cutting through her shields like they weren't even there. Now her small ship, the Curiosity, was bleeding atmosphere and tumbling toward an uncharted planet's surface. Come on, she muttered, fingers dancing across the neural interface panel. The ship's eye was offline, leaving her to manually pilot through atmospheric entry. As a xenophysicist, she was trained for first contact scenarios, but not like this. Not with hostile intent. The planet's upper atmosphere began to buffet the ship, and Sarah could see the hull temperature climbing to dangerous levels. She'd managed to maintain some control over the descent, but impact was inevitable. As the ground rushed up to meet her, she had just enough time to activate the emergency crash protocols before everything went black. She awoke to the sensation of being dragged. Her head throbbed, and through blurry vision, she could make out tall, elegant figures moving around her. Their skin seemed to shift colors like oil on water, and their movements were unnaturally smooth. Aliens, real aliens. After 15 years of searching the frontier for signs of intelligent life, she'd finally found them, or rather, they'd found her. "The specimen is conscious," one of them said in perfectly accented English, making Sarah's scientific mind race despite her situation. How did they know her language? "Prepare it for examination." "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen of the Earth Science Vessel Curiosity," she managed to say, her voice hoarse. "I come in peace for the purpose of scientific exchange and—" Silence. The command didn't come from words, but rather seemed to press directly into her mind, accompanied by a wave of dizziness. "Your kind's expansion ends here. The Corvani Dominion will not permit another competitive species to threaten our order." Sarah found herself being lifted onto some kind of examination table, her limbs secured by fields of shimmering energy. The beings, the Corvani, moved around her with precise efficiency, setting up equipment she couldn't begin to understand. But something felt wrong. Beyond the obvious wrongness of being captured and restrained, she could sense something, like static electricity in her mind, building with each passing moment. "Commence neural mapping," one of the Corvani said. "We must understand how their primitive minds—" "Stop." The new voice cut through the laboratory like a knife, causing all activity to cease immediately. Sarah managed to turn her head enough to see another Corvani entering the room. This one was different, taller, with skin that shifted through deeper colors and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. "I am High Seer Varen, and you will not proceed with this examination." "High Seer, the protocols for handling new species are clear." "Look at her neural pattern." The High Seer approached Sarah, those impossible eyes studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "She's generating quantum interference patterns, impossible for a supposedly primitive species." Sarah felt something brush against her consciousness, not invasive like the earlier command to be silent, but gentle, questioning. And to her shock, she found she could reach back, connecting with something vast and incomprehensible. The High Seer stepped back, those galaxy eyes wide with what might have been wonder. "In all my centuries of reading probability streams, I have never encountered anything like this. This human isn't just generating quantum interference. She's unconsciously manipulating it. She's a natural quantum consciousness." "Impossible," one of the other Corvani protested. "Only our species has evolved the capability to." "Reality disagrees with your assumptions," High Seer Varen said sharply. "Release her restraints." "Dr. Chen, I apologize for your treatment. It seems we have much to learn from each other." As the energy fields dissipated, Sarah sat up slowly, her head still spinning from whatever connection she'd experienced. What did you mean by quantum consciousness?" "Your species has barely begun to understand quantum mechanics," Varen explained, offering what seemed to be a gesture of peace. "But some beings can naturally perceive and influence quantum probability fields. My people spent millennia evolving this ability. You appear to have it innately, which should be impossible. The implications are significant. Sarah's scientific curiosity began to overcome her fear. Is that how you knew English? Some kind of quantum field manipulation. Perceptive. Yes, we can read probability streams to extract information, including language. But you? Varen's skin shifted to deep blues and purples. You could do so much more, if you're willing to learn. The other Corvani were clearly unhappy with this turn of events, but none dared challenge the High Seer. Sarah looked around the laboratory, considering her options. She was apparently the first human to demonstrate this ability, and the scientist in her burned to understand it. But she also hadn't forgotten that these beings had shot her down and planned to treat her as a test subject. What exactly are you proposing? She asked carefully. An exchange, Varen replied. I will teach you to understand and control your ability. In return, you will help us understand how a human came to possess it. This knowledge could reshape our understanding of consciousness itself, and perhaps change the relationship between our species before it's too late. Sarah thought of her ruined ship, of the hostile reception she'd received, but she also thought of the vast possibilities she glimpsed when connecting with Varen's consciousness. There were secrets here that could transform humanity's understanding of the universe. And maybe, just maybe, she could help prevent future conflict between their species. I accept, she said firmly, but I have conditions. Varen's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. Of course you do. Shall we discuss them over the meal? You must be hungry after your dramatic arrival. As Sarah followed the High Seer out of the laboratory, she couldn't help but feel she'd just stepped onto a path that would change not only her life, but the future of human-alien relations forever. She just hoped she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The meditation chamber aboard the Corvani research station hummed with an energy Sarah could now perceive with her growing quantum awareness. 3 weeks had passed since High Seer Varen had begun her training, and each day brought new revelations about the true nature of reality and her unique ability to influence it. Focus, Varen instructed, their skin shimmering with patterns Sarah had learned to recognize as anticipation. Don't just observe the probability field. Reach out and touch it. Sarah closed her eyes, extending her consciousness into the quantum realm. At first, it had been like trying to grab smoke with her bare hands, but now she could sense the delicate threads of possibility that wove through reality. Each thread represented a potential future, branching and combining in endless patterns. I can see them, she murmured, maintaining her concentration. They're different today, more active. Because you're growing stronger, Varen replied. Now, try to influence the pattern of the third quantum node. Gentle pressure, like turning a page in a book. Sarah reached out with her mind, carefully manipulating the ethereal strands of probability. The air in the chamber seemed to thicken as reality itself responded to her touch. A small crystal suspended in the center of the room began to glow, then slowly rise against gravity. Remarkable, Varen said softly. You're advancing faster than any initiate I've ever trained. Even among my people, it takes years to achieve this level of control. The crystal settled back into its cradle as Sarah opened her eyes, feeling drained but exhilarated. It's fascinating how quantum probability fields can affect macro-scale objects. This could revolutionize our understanding of physics back on Earth. Varen's skin darkened slightly, a sign of concern Sarah had learned to recognize. You must understand, Dr. Chen, that this knowledge comes with great responsibility. There are those among my people who still believe sharing such secrets with humans is dangerous. Because they see us as a threat, Sarah said, standing from her meditation pose. But you've seen something different in the probability streams, haven't you? That's why you're really training me. The High Seer moved to one of the chamber's viewing windows, looking out at the swirling atmosphere of the gas giant the station orbited. Walk with me. There's something you need to see. They left the meditation chamber and traveled through corridors that seemed to shift and flow, the living metal of Corvani architecture responding to their presence. Other Corvani they passed gave Sarah a wide berth, their skin flickering with colors that suggested a mixture of fear and curiosity. Varand led her to a secure section of the station she'd never visited before. A massive holographic display dominated the central room, showing what appeared to be a map of the galaxy. Countless points of light represented stars, with different colors indicating something Sarah couldn't quite interpret. What you're seeing is a quantum probability map of galactic civilization, Varand explained, manipulating the display with graceful gestures. The red markers indicate points of significant temporal instability, places where multiple probability streams are converging toward critical events. Sarah's breath caught as she noticed a familiar spiral arm of the galaxy. That's Earth's sector. Why are there so many red markers? Because humanity is approaching a crossroads, Varand said gravely. Your species' rapid technological advancement has drawn attention from powers far more hostile than the Corvani Dominion. We may have shot down your ship, but at least we intended to study you. Others would simply eliminate the potential threat you represent. The display shifted, showing possible timeline branches spreading out like a cosmic tree. Most of them turned black, indicating extinction-level events. Sarah felt her heart race as she understood the implications. How long? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Without intervention. Less than 5 Earth years before first contact with the Nexari Empire. They've already marked your world for cleansing. Varand's skin rippled with dark patterns of concern. But this is where you become crucial. Your quantum abilities represent a possibility we never considered. Humans and Corvani working together to reshape probability itself. Sarah studied the probability map, her scientific mind racing. That's why you're teaching me so quickly. You think I can help prevent this future? More than that, Varand replied. I believe you might be the key to saving both our species. The Nexari threat isn't limited to Earth. They've merely chosen to strike humanity first because they see you as the weakest target. The Corvani Dominion would be next. A strange sound echoed through the room. Corvani footsteps, but hurried, breaking their usual measured pace. A junior seer burst into the room, their skin flashing urgent patterns of alarm. High Seer, we've detected unauthorized access to the quantum communications network. Someone has been transmitting data about the human's abilities. Varand's skin darkened to almost black. To whom? We traced the transmission to the Nexari border stations. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face as Varand turned to her, those galaxy eyes now burning with intensity. It seems our timeline has accelerated. Dr. Chen, are you ready to put your training to a real test? Because I fear we're about to be drawn into events that will determine the fate of both our peoples. Looking at the holographic display, watching those dark probability streams spreading like cancer through the galaxy, Sarah squared her shoulders. She hadn't asked for this responsibility, but her entire life as a scientist had been devoted to expanding human knowledge and understanding. If she could use these newfound abilities to protect Earth, and maybe forge a genuine alliance with the Corvani. What do you need me to do? She asked. Varand's skin shifted to colors she'd never seen before, patterns that spoke of both hope and determination. We need to make the impossible possible, and we need to do it before our enemies realize just how powerful you've become. The quantum security breach had transformed the Corvani research station from a place of learning into a hive of frantic activity. Sarah worked alongside Varand in the station's quantum core, their minds linked as they traced probability streams, searching for the source of the leak. Other seers moved around them, their skin flickering with anxiety as they coordinated the station's defenses. There, Sarah said suddenly, her consciousness detecting a subtle distortion in the quantum field. That thread feels wrong, like it's been artificially manipulated. Varand's galaxy eyes narrowed as they examined the anomaly Sarah had identified. Extraordinary. No one but a high seer should be able to detect such a subtle manipulation. Your abilities continue to exceed all expectations. Less praise, more action, Sarah replied, maintaining her focus on the corrupted probability stream. I think I can follow it back to its source. She reached deeper into the quantum realm, her human consciousness interpreting the abstract quantum data in ways that repeatedly surprised her Corvini teachers. Where they saw mathematical patterns and energy signatures, she perceived colors, textures, and emotions, a synesthetic experience that allowed her to notice things their more structured approach might miss. The corrupted thread led them through a maze of quantum encryption, finally terminating in what appeared to be a sealed chamber 3 levels below. Sarah's eyes snapped open, breaking the quantum trance. Got them. Varen was already moving, their skin rippling with patterns of command as they contacted station security. Seal off Level 7. Section 12 immediately. Full quantum containment protocols. But as security forces converged on the location, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The overhead lights shifted to a deep purple, a color Sarah had never seen used before. The reaction from the Corvini around her was immediate and dramatic, their skin patterns shifting to display pure terror. What's happening? She demanded. Nexary vessels just quantum jumped into the system, Varen answered grimly. 3 dreadnoughts and multiple support craft. The leak wasn't just about you. It was coordinated with an invasion. The station shuddered as the first impacts struck their shields. Sarah could feel the quantum disruptions rippling through reality itself. They're using quantum weapons, she realized. Like what hit my ship, but much more powerful. Standard procedure for the Nexary, Varen confirmed. They corrupt probability fields to ensure their victories. Very few defenses can withstand such attacks. Sarah's mind raced as she processed this information. But if they're manipulating quantum fields, then theoretically, someone with enough quantum sensitivity could counter their attacks. Theoretically, yes, but it would take dozens of trained seers working in perfect harmony to. Varen trailed off, their skin shifting to patterns of sudden understanding. But you're not a trained seer. You're something entirely new. Another impact rocked the station. Status displays showed their shields weakening rapidly. They had minutes at most before the Nexary would breach their defenses. Teach me, Sarah demanded. Right now. Show me how to counter their quantum weapons. It's too dangerous, Varen protested. The amount of quantum energy required. It could burn out your consciousness completely. And if we do nothing, everyone on this station dies, and the Nexary gain whatever they're really after. Sarah grabbed Varen's arm, feeling the alien skin ripple under her touch. You've been holding back in my training, haven't you? Worried about pushing me too far. It's time to take off the safety protocols. For a moment, those galaxy eyes studied her with an unreadable expression. Then Varen nodded sharply. Very well. But first, the High Seer pressed their forehead against Sarah's, and suddenly her mind was flooded with information. Years of training compressed into moments of pure understanding. When they separated, Sarah gasped at the intensity of the knowledge transfer. That's how your weapons work, how you shot down my ship. And now you know how to counter such attacks, Varen confirmed. But theory and practice are very different things. Are you absolutely certain you want to attempt this? Another impact. The shields were at 12% and falling. Sarah could feel the corrupted probability field spreading through local space like a cancer, ensuring the Nexary's victory. Unless, get me to the quantum core, she said firmly, and evacuate all non-essential personnel from that section. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I doubt it will be subtle. As they raced through the corridors, Sarah's mind was already reaching out, touching the quantum fields that permeated reality. She could feel the Nexary's influence, cold, calculating, methodically destroying any possibility of resistance or escape. But she could also feel something else. The natural quantum fields generated by human consciousness. Her consciousness, different from the structured, evolved abilities of the Corvini. Rawer, more chaotic, more creative. They reached the quantum core just as the shields dropped to critical levels. Sarah placed her hands on the central control crystal, and Varen linked their minds one final time. "Remember," the High Seer said softly, "don't try to match their precision. That's not your strength. You're human. Improvise." Sarah nodded, took a deep breath, and opened herself fully to the quantum realm. The universe exploded into possibilities around her, and for the first time, she didn't try to control or direct them. Instead, she simply let her human consciousness react naturally to the quantum fields, creating patterns that no Corvani or Nexari would ever think to attempt. The result was spectacular, devastating, and would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as Sarah's consciousness merged with the quantum core. The Nexari's probability fields were precisely calculated, mathematically perfect, and utterly unprepared for the chaos of human intuition. Where they sought to control quantum possibilities, Sarah simply embraced them all at once. The effect was like throwing a stone into a perfectly ordered pond. Ripples of probability cascaded outward from the station, disrupting the Nexari's carefully constructed quantum manipulations. Their weapons, dependent on predetermined probability paths, suddenly found themselves firing into possibilities that shouldn't have existed. Through her expanded consciousness, Sarah could perceive the confusion and fear spreading through the Nexari fleet. Their quantum sensors, calibrated for Corvani resistance, were overwhelmed by the sheer impossibility of what they were detecting. It was as if a single point in space had suddenly become every possible point simultaneously. "Impossible," she heard one of the Nexari commanders broadcast. "The quantum fields they're not just corrupted, they're completely chaotic." Sarah felt Varen's mind brush against hers. "Your human consciousness," the High Seer observed with wonder. "It's not bound by the same quantum rules that govern our species. You're not fighting their probability manipulations, you're simply making them irrelevant." But the strain was immense. Sarah could feel her mind stretching to its limits as she maintained the quantum chaos field. Blood trickled from her nose, and her vision began to blur even in the quantum realm. The Nexari, recovering from their initial shock, were attempting to adapt their attacks. "They're trying to predict the pattern in my chaos," she gritted out. I need to be even more random, more human." Varen's concern radiated through their mental link. "Your consciousness can't take much more of this. You need to pull back." Instead, Sarah pushed deeper. She thought of Earth, of the infinite variety of human culture and creativity. She thought of jazz music, of abstract art, of stream of consciousness poetry. She poured all of that beautiful human chaos into the quantum fields. The result was beyond anything the station's sensors could measure. Where the Nexari sought order, Sarah created glorious disorder. Their quantum weapons didn't just fail, they backfired spectacularly, probability itself rebelling against their attempts to control it. Fascinating. A new voice cut through the quantum noise. So this is what the leak detected. A human quantum manipulator. Sarah felt a powerful consciousness touch her own. Ancient, cold, and impossibly alien. The Nexari High Commander had entered the quantum plane personally. "Your species continues to surprise us," the commander continued. "We expected to find primitive savages. Instead, we find this. Perhaps we were too hasty in marking your world for cleansing." "You're damn right you were," Sarah projected back, even as she felt blood vessels bursting in her eyes from the strain. "Humanity isn't your enemy. We could be your greatest allies, if you just stop trying to kill everyone different from you. You speak of alliance while disrupting our quantum fields." The commander's amusement rippled through probability itself. "Bold, but you cannot maintain this chaos forever. Already your consciousness frays." He was right. Sarah could feel herself slipping. The human mind was never meant to channel this much quantum energy. But as her consciousness began to fade, she felt other minds joining with hers. Varen, the other Corvani seers, even some of the junior Nexari commanders, all drawn into the quantum realm by the sheer impossibility of what she was achieving. "Look," she broadcast to all of them. Look at what we can accomplish together. Chaos and order. Structure and creativity. Not in conflict, but in harmony. Through their combined consciousness, she showed them possibilities that none of their species had ever imagined. Quantum technologies that merged necessary precision with human improvisation. Cultural exchanges that could enrich all their civilizations. A future where difference was celebrated rather than feared. The strain finally overwhelmed her. Sarah felt herself falling away from the quantum realm, her consciousness retreating back into her physical form. The last thing she heard was the Nexari commander's thoughtful voice. Perhaps we have been asking the wrong questions all along. She awoke in the station's medical bay 3 days later. Varen was there, their skin showing patterns she'd never seen before. Hope mixed with concern, mixed with excitement. The Nexari fleet has withdrawn, the High Seer informed her, but not before establishing formal diplomatic contact. It seems you've sparked quite the debate in their Quantum Oversight Committee. Sarah tried to sit up, but her body felt like it was made of lead. Did I really show them all those possibilities? You did more than that, Varen replied, helping her to a sitting position. You proved that quantum mechanics itself responds differently to human consciousness. The implications are staggering. Already, our scientists are theorizing entirely new approaches to quantum technology based on your demonstration. And the Nexari. They've requested an exchange of quantum researchers, specifically asking for human participants. Varen's skin rippled with amusement. It seems you've convinced them that a little chaos might be exactly what they need. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the quantum field still humming around her, forever changed by her actions. So what happens now? Now, Varen's galaxy eyes sparkled. Now we begin the real work of bringing 3 very different species together. And you, Dr. Chen, are going to help us write an entirely new future. 1 year after the Nexari incident, Sarah stood before the newly constructed Quantum Cooperation Institute on Earth, still amazed by how much had changed. The massive structure combined architectural elements from all 3 species, elegant Corvani flowing lines, precise Nexari geometric patterns, and human artistic flourishes that somehow made the impossible combination work. Quite the sight, isn't it? Varen asked, their skin shimmering with proud patterns as they joined her on the observation deck. The first true collaboration between our peoples. It's more than that, Sarah replied, watching as groups of humans, Corvani, and Nexari entered the facility together. It's proof that different approaches to understanding the universe can coexist, even complement each other. The Institute had been her idea, born from the quantum visions she shared during the confrontation with the Nexari fleet, a place where the mathematical precision of Nexari quantum science could merge with Corvani evolutionary quantum abilities and human creative intuition. Already, the collaboration was producing breakthroughs that none of the species could have achieved alone. The latest results from the hybrid quantum drive tests are extremely promising. Varen noted, their galaxy eyes scanning a holographic readout. The Nexari provided the computational framework. We supplied the biological interface, and your human research team somehow made it all work together in ways none of us expected. As usual. Sarah smiled, remembering how skeptical both alien species had been about human gut feelings and intuitive leaps. But they couldn't argue with results. The hybrid drive would revolutionize space travel, making it safer and more efficient than any previous technology. High Commander Zextal has requested your presence at next month's Quantum Council meeting. Varen continued. It seems your chaos theory approach to quantum mechanics has sparked quite the revolution in Nexari scientific circles. They're actually encouraging their younger researchers to be more spontaneous. Now that's truly terrifying. Sarah laughed. Nexari scientists embracing chaos. The universe may never be the same. That was always your gift. A new voice joined them. Sarah turned to see Nexari High Commander Zextal approaching, their crystalline form refracting the sunlight. You showed us that our fear of chaos, of difference, was limiting our potential. Together, we are achieving what none of us could have imagined alone. Sarah nodded toward a group of young researchers entering the institute. Human, Corvani, and Nexari walking together, engaged in animated discussion. That's the real breakthrough. Not the technology, but the understanding that our differences make us stronger. Speaking of breakthroughs, Varen's skin shifted to patterns of excitement. Shall we show the High Commander our latest project? They made their way to a secure laboratory deep within the institute. Here, Sarah's original connection to quantum fields had been studied, replicated, and refined. They'd discovered that while every human had some degree of quantum sensitivity, it manifested differently in each person. Some showed talent for probability manipulation, others for quantum computing, and still others for entirely new applications they were only beginning to understand. The Quantum Consciousness Training Program is exceeding all expectations, Sarah explained as they observed a class in session. Human students were learning to access quantum fields under the joint guidance of Corvani seers and Nexari quantum theorists. We're seeing abilities and applications that none of us predicted. Much like yourself, Zextal observed. Who could have predicted that a human scientist, captured for sacrifice, would end up transforming 3 civilizations? Sarah touched the quantum fields gently, feeling the interconnected consciousness of all 3 species working in harmony. That's the beauty of chaos theory. The smallest changes can have the largest effects. A butterfly flaps its wings, and probability itself shifts, Varen finished. Though I believe in your case, it was less of a butterfly and more of a quantum hurricane. The quantum probability maps show fascinating developments, Zextal added, projecting a holographic display similar to the one Sarah had first seen on the Corvani station. But now, instead of showing conflict and extinction, the probability streams were alive with potential. New technologies, cultural exchanges, joint colonization efforts. The combined strength of our species is creating possibilities none of us could have imagined. And that's just the beginning, Sarah said, watching as a young human student successfully merged their consciousness with both a Corvani seer and a Nexari quantum computer, achieving perfect harmony between intuition, biological quantum sensitivity, and mathematical precision. We're writing a new future, one discovery at a time. Later that evening, Sarah stood alone on the Institute's roof, watching Earth's sunset paint the sky in colors that still took her breath away. She reached out with her quantum senses, feeling the infinite possibilities that lay before them. Somewhere out there, other species were waiting to be discovered, other minds ready to add their unique perspectives to the growing tapestry of galactic civilization. Her quantum awareness brushed against Varen's familiar consciousness as the High Seer joined her. Having profound thoughts about the nature of existence again, they asked, their skin twinkling with affectionate patterns. Just appreciating the chaos, Sarah replied with a smile, and thinking about how sometimes the universe has a strange way of bringing the right people together at the right time. Quantum probability at work, Varen agreed, though I suspect you humans would call it destiny. Maybe they're the same thing, Sarah mused, watching as the first stars became visible in the darkening sky. Order and chaos, destiny and free will, all part of the same cosmic dance. Together, they stood in comfortable silence as night fell over the Institute, its lights beginning to glow with the combined technological artistry of 3 species. In the quantum fields around them, probability streams shimmered with potential, each one leading to new discoveries, new understandings, and new possibilities for all their peoples. The universe, it seemed, had infinite stories yet to tell, and thanks to one human's unique way of seeing reality, those stories would be written together, in harmony and understanding, across the eternal dance of quantum possibilities.